Welcome back to the Vital Strategies Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Lonergan, and today we have a fantastic guest joining us, Sal Marino. Sal has led a number of different leadership positions from operations to finance and sales at Charles IT. Sal has been instrumental in their impressive 20 to 30% year-over-year growth. In this episode, we dive into the key foundations for business success and sustainable growth, from operational efficiency to the importance of leadership and culture. Sal shares insights on building a solid foundation while pushing for growth, aligning leadership with company goals, and the role of financial forecasting in long-term success. Stay to the end as Sal reveals his unique approach to breaking down yearly goals and problem solving, and why fostering a work hard, play hard culture is essential. You'll also hear valuable tips on how to ensure your cash flow and strategy are aligned to leverage assets for continued growth. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Sal, thank you for joining us today. I am excited to dig into this conversation. So you run the operations at Charles IT. You're been a key piece of that relationship with us. The owner of the business is a client. I'll say the business is a client. You're a client. So you sort of had a front row seat to how we do things, and we get a front row seat to see how this business grows. And you guys do some things uniquely well, which I'm looking forward to getting into today. I think the thing that's most exciting about what you do that you guys have figured out is, to see 20 to 30% growth year over year when you're little is not, that's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier. But as your organization grows to 50, 100, almost 150 employees, like that gets harder and harder to do year over year. And you guys have figured out how to crack that code. So I'm looking forward to digging into that today.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on and looking forward to the conversation for sure.
Yeah, very good. So can we just start with operations and what are the fundamental pieces of the operation that, we'll say, because I think where I'd like to go is business owners need to start with the foundational pieces before they start building it up into something incredible. So can we just outline what you see as maybe foundational pieces that every business needs to have in order before they start trying to grow at 30% year over year?
Yeah, I think there's one of the common things that most organizations think they will be able to continue to grow and scale is all I need to do is just bring in the sales, bring in the revenue. And if I do that, I can basically cash my way out of most problems. And I think the real secret behind that is making sure that, you look at it in the same way that you look at a house, right? There needs to be a strong foundation to be able to make sure that you can build on that. And then once you have that foundation, the building part is easy, right? That you have the structure, you have the frameworks, you have the things. Then it's just minor tweaks and changes, like making the house look nicer could be as simple as just changing the paint color. Whereas the foundation, it needs to be solid. And so, for me, that's where, in my background and coming into Charles IT, that's what I was brought on to do. And so my experience, is finance, sales, marketing, procurement, HR, and all that good stuff, and figuring out how do we build that. And, back then as 17 people, how do we continue to scale it where we're now, around the 150 employee mark?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So as an entrepreneur, I think the hard part is I never want to take my foot off the gas, right? I want to just keep driving those sales in. How do I build a solid foundation, while I'm building the building? It seems like it's I don't want to say easier, but if I just slow everything down, right? If I slow it down, now I can build the foundation and then we can build on top of that. And so, and maybe there is no elegant secret to doing it. It's sort of figuring it out a little bit as you go and reinforcing things. But you guys have just continued to grow, and that foundation just seems really solid in being able to handle, the sales, the service, all of the HR and administrative functions. Your business seems like it's running fairly smoothly. And it's been interesting to see, I'll say, the finance and sort of leadership team continue to evolve around you as, we've watched the business grow over the years. So yeah, do you have any secret for like just continuing to grow the business and, building that strong foundation while all that's happening? Because that seems hard to me.
Yeah, and it is definitely not for the faint of heart, especially when you're you're growing at the level that we've kind of been growing at. But I think it's more a testament to our leadership, and like specifically, Foster, our CEO's vision, and then the rest of the executive leadership team that I serve on. That group of individuals all have a common shared goal and purpose of what we're trying to achieve. And by having all of us be aligned, we know that there's certain pillars and things that we need to make sure get addressed consistently and repetitively to make sure that we can continue to scale and grow at the level that we want to. So is there a secret sauce behind that? I would say no, you can't just go apply these 4 things and you'll get it. It's more of making sure that you understand that those operational pieces and the different foundational items that you need within your business are constantly on the forefront of your mind, rather than the things that you're thinking about later. You start to build them in. And even if it's small, little pieces of it that you're like, I'm putting this in place, I'm putting that in place. And then once that train starts to roll, then you can start to pass it down throughout the organization, and it just becomes part of your culture.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree. I think you guys have done a great job building a team of people that believe that it's possible. We may not know the way, but we'll figure it out. We will problem solve this. And I think another thing that, when you've projected this growth, you guys do a great job of forecasting. And so I think you forecast the financials, and I think in there you go, we look at this arena and it's going to need to be bolstered before we get there. And I think that probably helps you along the way too. Because a lot of times we don't see clients forecasting. They're just looking sort of at the P&L, looking backwards instead of going, okay, what's this? And they might have some revenue targets, but they're not looking at the entire business going, okay, how much money are we going to have to spend in all these different columns for us to get there and run the business effectively? Do you have anything to comment on the forecast side of things and how that helps?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing, and again, it's tying everything is back to the vision, right? And so, our executive team meets every quarter offsite to talk about the different strategies and plans and where we want to go, where we're headed. And once a year, we have a 2-day annual planning meeting, and that is where we establish okay, where do we want to go, right? What's the actual target for the year, whether that's a revenue target or a monthly recurring revenue target. It could be a customer satisfaction target or profitability overall, right? It could be any of those things. But once we all say this is the target, then you can establish what are the things that we need to do to be able to get to that target. And that's the stuff that allows us to really think about, okay, if we want to be able to do those things, we have to implement this, we have to make tweaks here, we have to hire here. And you start to go and kind of build out those plans. That said, I would say we're not perfect, right? I can tell you, if you 9 times out of 10, all the things that we're setting up for the beginning of the year and what we think the goals are that will help us achieve the main targets, those get changed often, right? And we even find out we can't even do some of those things. And so then it's okay, it's the not afraid of change, I think is one of the biggest parts of operational efficiency and process improvement and that kind of stuff is you can't be afraid to fail fast, move on and try the next thing to be able to still aim for that guiding light. What's that target?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. So there's something very unique about you, and It's the fact that you've been to our office here in Clinton, Iowa. So I can say there's effectively zero consulting clients that have ever been to our office, just because our clients are all over the United States, and you're in Connecticut and I'm in Iowa. So we should talk a little bit about the connection to Clinton, Iowa, and how that all turned out. And then I've got some things that are going to build on this conversation of what we were just talking about here in a second. But so how did you end up in Clinton, Iowa, in my office? Can we talk through that?
Yeah. So there's this all-inclusive resort that's in Clinton, Iowa, that it's like a hidden gem, and no one knows about it, right? And that's what's crazy. So that resort may or may not be my mother-in-law's house. But yeah, my wife Libby was born and raised in Clinton, Iowa, and when we first engaged with you guys, I saw your email come through, and I'm like, Clinton, Iowa. I was like, what the hell are the chances of that? I was like, there's no way. And turns out same town, born and raised, crazy. It's just a small world.
Yeah, no. And so that's been a lot of fun having you when you're in town for holidays or visiting family. You can come park in our office and get some things done, and we can talk a little shop, which is always fun. I get some insight from you on operational excellence, and that's where I was going with this. Like when we were here last time, you showed me some of your like quarterly objectives and your game plan to get there. And here's the lie that I think I was telling myself, like, man, how do you, as an organization that grows this quickly at Charles IT, have the time to take a quarterly offsite, to spend, I know it takes considerable time to like clarify those objectives and the game plan it takes to get there for each individual member. Like I know that takes real time. I'm like, man, how do you have time to do that? Because the temptation is to just keep running fast, and not slow down and do the planning piece. But I after I saw that, I'm like, okay, I don't have any excuse for not having those for our internal team. And because if you guys can grow, you're that big and can grow that fast, and you take the time to do it, like we should make the time as well. So can you talk a little bit about like how you go about structuring those? Because we've tried and failed a few times on, I'll say, implementing what we'll call the EOS and rocks, and making things truly measurable. Like we've had a hard time with some of that. So can you talk about how you make those things work for your organization?
Yeah, and the funny part is we've tried a bunch and failed a bunch too, right? And again, it's the not being afraid to fail fast and make the tweaks and the changes. So, we do follow EOS, that model, and we structure everything with a VTO at the beginning of the year with our targets and our mission and our, brand promises and the whole 9 yards. And it is like, I referred to the guiding light before, but like that is the guiding light, like in a document. And from there, what those annual targets are we're looking for, we break those down even further into those quarterly objectives. And our quarterly objectives are definitely pretty impactful changes to the business. Like a good example is right now, we are completely changing the way that we invoice our clients. And that impacts so many parts of our business, right? So it's the client experience, it's the reconciliations, it's the pricing strategies, it's the like actual like back end logistics of it. Like there's a lot that goes in. Oh, by the way, there's 160 of those clients and changes that we have to make. So like it's a tremendous lift. But the point is we spent a lot of time identifying what's that problem we're trying to solve. And that is like client satisfaction. Our invoices are too complicated. Fair. So then it's like, okay, we want to solve that. What are the specific problems that we have, and what steps can we take to resolve all of those things? And so we then break those down into like small measurable tasks of like what we need to do, which is like figure out how you're going to reconcile now. what does the invoice going to look like? What does the audit process look like? And then it's like, now implement it for X amount of clients and get approval. And so when you break things down at that level of, smaller bite-sized pieces, it truly helps you take something like that and be able to break it down in a manageable piece. So there's an analogy of, how do you eat an elephant? And I look at all of our quarterly rocks as eating elephants, but the strategy is it's one bite at a time. That's how you do it.
I love it. So I think the next thing in my mind is, and you touched on this already, like the number of seats you've sat in at Charles IT since you started there has been a lot. You've done everything from finance to sales to operations, like the whole ball of wax. And so can you talk a little bit about how, we think about the right seat on the bus, right? Like, we need the right people in the right seats. And as the organization grows, those seats change, right? And people got to get up out of their seat and move to a different seat. And I'm thinking of a client in particular that runs a pretty large manufacturing firm, and he needs to make some changes to the people. Like, he's got good people, but they might be sitting in the wrong seats, and they've sort of outgrown, that current structure. Can you talk a little bit about like how you guys have managed the growth and making sure, people are moving around to the right seats and doing that in a way that sort of, because I could see it be challenging to the individual. Like, wait a minute, this sounds like a demotion. What do you mean I need to move to a different seat? I like my seat. So Can you talk through that?
Yeah, that is a loaded question. There's a lot of directions you can go there, but I think for me, it's the common purpose of like where we're headed and where we're going. Generally, when you get to be in either a management level or executive leadership or whatever you want to call it, you have a different level of incentive to be a part of the organization and continue with the growth. So that said, you're not looking for your next career move outside of that organization, and when that happens, it is generally a freeing feeling where you're like, okay, like I'm invested in this. This is my company too. What do I need to do? What is my highest and best use to be able to, help the company get to where it needs to be? Because if the company does well, then that works for me. And like, I'm a part of something. That's one big factor of it. The other part is those people that you have, they have to genuinely be like curious, to want to learn and take on some of those challenges. Like for me, it literally makes no sense, the things that I'm doing right now, because my background is I'm an accountant, with, an auditing background, and I did an MBA in forensic accounting. So if I told you that right now, the hat that I'm focused on is sales and marketing, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. But the nice part is I understand the financial structure of our business, the agreements, and how all of it works so well that I can then translate that into conversations with other business owners. And so that's, at this point, in our juncture, that is my highest and best use for the company. So being the sales and marketing leader, is what I'm doing. But I would say if I was, that manufacturing client and figuring out, what to potentially do with those individuals, it's, figuring out what are they actually good at, and what are the things that they struggle at? And is there a role that can utilize their strengths and also like potentially minimize the times that their weaknesses may show, to be able to move those people around.
Yeah, I love that. So I think there's a few things that are worth highlighting. So I think one thing, you have the entrepreneurial spirit, and you ended up, getting an accounting degree, and then you've ended up at Charles IT. And I think that allows your entrepreneurial spirit to like flourish. Like, okay, cool, I can go figure things out. Doesn't matter what arena, we're going to get in and do it. So I think that's really good. I think something that you've touched on, danced around a little bit, but I think really matters for this whole conversation here is the culture at Charles IT. There's a few things that I think matter. Like, ownership cares a lot about the people. Like, we're going to do whatever we can to take really good care of people, and that's creating financial incentives. I also think there's things you guys do that are incredible, from just a like, hey, we're gonna work our tails off, but we're also going to go have some fun. And so,
Yep.
And I think there's just there's a difference between like doing these things tactically and then like just who foundationally the people are that are running the company and how they think and care about people. And it's like, that sort of comes through. And if you can do the tactics without like the caring piece, and it's sort of, you can tell it's hollow. But I think when you mix in some of the like, hey, we really care about these people, we want to do cool things for them, and create a culture of like, let's grow this thing to the moon. I think that's a fantastic combination. So can you talk a little bit about maybe culture and, sort of the work hard, play hard type thing? Because I think some of the things you guys have done organizationally for like company trips and whatnot is just super cool.
Yeah, for sure. The philosophy behind the things that we're doing is pretty simple. Like, we're running this business because we're passionate about what we do, right? We're passionate about surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals. And, we could be, we could be a really successful car wash for whatever it's worth. As long as I have great people and we're doing something that we're enjoying what the day-to-day is and all that kind of stuff, like, that's what's really driving the culture. Yes, like our company, you have a bunch of people that are passionate about technology. Me, doesn't get me out of bed every day to go learn about the new software or whatever. Like, I think it's cool, it's interesting, but not what motivates me. But what does motivate me is that I get to go to work every day with a bunch of people who like, they truly give a shit. Like, that is like, that is a cool thing. Like, there's a lot of people who go to work for a job, and I don't think there's anyone in our organization that is like upset to come to work every day. And that starts at the top. That is setting the tone for, we are going to jam out while we're here all day. And, we track our time minute to minute. And, that's a lot to ask of somebody. And that can be grueling during the day. But that said, there are so many things outside of it that we try to provide to our team to, give them the sense of like, you do what you need to do to take care of our clients. We will do what we need to do to take care of you. And so, we've done, company trips. We've done, even in 2 weeks or next Friday, we have one of our quarterly outings. It's a secret. People don't know where we're going. Party bus shows up with food and booze, and we go do some fun event, within like a 2-hour drive. And so we do that. And once a year, coming up in December, we do our epic outing, and that involves a plane. And we take the entire company on somewhere for 3 days, all expenses paid. And we just, again, we get to play hard. We get to hang out outside of the suit and all that stuff, and get people to just know us as people. So it's fun.
I love it. Yeah. I think there's a whole like case study you guys could do on, developing like a high productivity culture. Because I think there's this misnomer out there that I want to be comfortable. Actually, I don't think we actually want to be comfortable. I think happiness comes from growth, and growth comes from a healthy amount of stress, right? And if we think about, I think the easiest one to think about is like lifting weights. If I want to get stronger, I have to break the muscle down. I have to put some stress on my body to get stronger. And so the same thing with our careers, right? And our day-to-day existence and getting better at what we do. It's like, we got to show up, and there's going to be a little bit of stress every day in our work environment. It's going to be a healthy amount of stress, but we're going to grow the organization. We're going to grow personally, and then we're going to shut it all off. And we're going to go take a secret trip to, somewhere. And so I think that's awesome. I love, because, in the past, you guys have taken a trip to like Disney and done some, I don't know what the thing was called. It was like some all access pass where it was just like, you had some VIP guide that just walked you into the front of every single line. And it was like, I don't know, amazing. So I'm a little disappointed I didn't get invited, but joke. Maybe if I come to work, it's,
Don't you help in the forecasting side? You could budget that in.
Right. I could just put an extra, round it up and, go on the trip. So let's talk a little bit. We've touched on how you function operationally. We've touched on people. We've touched on, culture. So I think now one of the things is, the finance side. The cool thing is you've helped us grow in the context of like, we'll send you one of our tools as like, hey, we're forecasting out some of the cash flow type stuff, and we get it back from you with all sorts of additions. And it's kind of fun to see some of those. And we're like, hey, that's a good idea. We should build that in for everybody. So I just want to say I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've spent a lot of time with you and your team just working on, we'll call it cash flow planning for the end of the year. It seems like you guys are really good at finding new acquisitions, buildings to buy, and throwing all that together with tax strategy that it has to be funded by the end of the year. And it's always a little exciting. And we'll think we have it all planned out, and then it'll be like, November, Thanksgiving, it'll be like, surprise, next 30 days, we're doing a $5 million transaction or something like that. So, so it's been fun. It's kept us on our toes to make sure that, you guys can do all the things that you want to do. And I again, just appreciate your team helping us develop some of these tools and pushing us to give you good outcomes. So I don't know if there's anything to talk about on the finance side, but I think you guys do it really well. And it gives you insight into how to run the business. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I think the interesting part is that at some point doing all the things that we're trying to do financially, they're not feasible. They're not realistic. They're not maintainable. They're not scalable. And I think that was our thought process for a little while because of the lack of support that we had on the financial strategies and tax planning and all that kind of stuff. And so I know you're trying to thank me right now, but I think the real thanks is to you and your team that have been able to give us these strategies and these opportunities to be able to continue to grow and scale at the rate we are, but also not lose the ability to do the culture related items and things that have gotten us to where we are. And so, most companies spend their time working with traditional CPA firms and going to them, and they get the whole, standard song and dance of we're going to help you with tax planning and tax preparation. But all they're really doing is planning for their tax preparation, not actually strategies of like, how do I best, leverage the assets in my business, or other strategies that can potentially open up opportunities to reinvest dollars into your team, or reinvest dollars into, additional retirement opportunities. And that's the stuff that I think has been, honestly, it's what's opened like the floodgates for us to be able to come up with really cool ways to even grow and scale our business, rather than that just becoming a tax conversation at the end of every year.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think to, maybe defend the CPAs a little bit. Their business model isn't designed to be plugged into an organization like yours. Like we meet every single month, sometimes if meetings in between those monthly meetings, just because of all of the things you have going on. And it's like, we've got a pulse on where you're at from an income and a tax perspective and the things you're trying to accomplish. Because there's almost an unlimited number of planning strategies out there. And it's like, if we know where you want to go, we can marry the right strategy. Okay, cool. We're growth minded. Great. We're going to apply this strategy because it'll allow us to leverage these dollars in a way that otherwise we'd just be sending it to the IRS, which is no leverage. So that's good to hear. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And that's fair to defend the CPA firms. However, I'll double down on my statement just because it does feel that sometimes you're sold like a bill of goods on preparation and that type of stuff. And if they can't be plugged in, then it should just be, this is tax preparing with our standard playbook. But I think the difference is there's so much left to be desired in that conversation. And the true benefit we've received from working with you guys has been, we don't need to be the ones to come with all the ideas. And that was the problem that, I was running into, where Foster and myself would go into our tax, planning meetings, and we'd be asking them, like, talk to us about the R&D credits, talk to us about film credits, talk to us about land conservation trusts. And they're just like, whoa, we'll have to get back to you. And I'm like, I want to know, like, I want someone to come to me with that. It's like the same thing, same premise of our business. Like on the IT side, if I ever have a client come to me to tell me about a technology, we have failed. Like there's no reason a CFO should be coming to me and asking, hey, what do you guys think about implementing this in our business? And I'm like, we missed the mark somewhere.
Yeah, no, and thank you. And we often find clients are on their second or third CPA by the time they find our way to us, because they're like, they keep buying that promise over and over again. And it's like, CPA firms should stop making it, but maybe it's their only tool for acquiring new business, is they just make promises they can't necessarily deliver on. But we feel like the combination works well between you, the CPA, and us. We can really build a strategy because we understand your goals. The CPA is another set of eyes going, wait, have you thought about this thing over here that, you maybe didn't know about or didn't take into consideration? And so we feel like that three-legged stool gives good outcomes. So good. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So I'd like you to just take a minute and tell me a little bit about what does Charles IT do? Like, who is your ideal customer, and what is that? I want to know what these 150 people that Charles IT do on a regular basis. So,
So Charles IT is a technology service provider. We basically, what that means is, if you have no internal IT people on your team, or you may have one that may need some additional support, that's the place where we come in. And so we offer strategy. We offer anything from your normal help desk password reset to becoming your virtual CIO and kind of building out your roadmap and your future, and where is technology going in your business, and how can we turn technology from a necessary evil into a business enabler. And we specialize in the security and compliance world. So really, we focus on organizations that are 25 to 100 to 150 employees, like knowledge-based workers, people that actually interact with technology, but focused in financial services, healthcare, in the manufacturing space.
Yep. Got it. That's great. And I will say, like, I try to be on the front end of technology things. I made the trip out to Connecticut to return the favor for you coming to Iowa, and we talked to your team. And one of the cool things that I got to experience was sort of the technology, because you guys live it, right? Breathe it, you apply it to your organization. And so we had an internal meeting, and we got to see how Copilot worked. This was early on with Copilot, and we were in a conference room, but it knew who was talking. It knew what the action items were. It emailed it out to everybody. I'm like, this AI thing is pretty cool. So if somebody wants to get Copilot into their meetings, they can call you, and you can get them plugged in, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the best part is there's a million ways to do it. But figuring out the right way and what ties into your system, and you maybe already have something that natively integrates and that kind of stuff. And that's the fun. That's the strategy behind all that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's, I want to be careful, because it's like, what I did was the equivalent of what our clients do. Will be like, hey, I saw this thing on TikTok. Should I do that? And it's like, hold on, let's back up for a second, and let's look at what you're trying to accomplish and think about this strategy, before we, just go run headlong into, some AI generated.
I feel like I just got called out. Because I'm one of those guys. I see something, they're like, "Oh, you should do this advanced strategy," and I send an Instagram reel headline.
Yeah, I like those things. I like to look at it and go, you know what, this is cool. This is why this strategy works, but I don't know if it necessarily applies to your situation. So, yeah, no, I wasn't intending to call you out,
but it worked.
Yeah, we just see enough tax stuff come across our social media feed that we're just like, some of it makes you shake your head. Please don't do that. You're going to end up in tax jail, or you've got 20 steps first that you should do before you get to this super complex structure that is designed for somebody with $100 million. My favorite is here's what the billionaires do. Guess what? If you're not a billionaire, you shouldn't be doing that, silly. So, all right, great. So just to recap, Charles IT, if I'm a regulated entity, you guys can help with all the technology and making sure that all of I just look at, our hospital recently got, I don't want to say shut down, but there was some ransomware thing that they just got dinged by in a big way. And it was locked down all their data. And, some of the folks we know over there were doing everything old school pen and paper. And it's like, oh boy.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's no fun. So, the data security is just becoming more and more important every day. And so people should reach out if they have, they just want an assessment, right? You guys can help them with that and figure out, here's the best way to handle all your technology. Because the thing I've found about technology is it's it becomes obsolete so quickly, right? I can install some stuff today, but probably within 24 months, that technology is could probably be had for almost free at Bargain Bonanza, Goodwill, whatever our resale shop of choice is. So. Yeah. And so staying on top of that is hard if you don't have, a dedicated team. And I think about too, the depth and breadth you bring, right? I could go hire a CIO, Chief Information Officer, right? Is that CTO, Chief Technology Officer? I could go hire one of those people, or I could have all 150 people from Charles IT, know and understand my problem and bring a level that there's no way I could hire an individual person to handle. And I can probably do it at, cost effectively that way. I get better outcomes for the same or less money. So,
yep.
All right. So Sal, we will put in the show notes how to get a hold of you if somebody wants to engage with Charles IT and just do a quick assessment. So very good. All right, Sal, we've covered everything from operations, culture, finance, and how to engage with Charles IT for technology help. Anything else we should be talking about before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say, again, one of the biggest things that your team has brought as a benefit to us is giving us the strategies that are not just tied to tax planning, right? It's the ability to help navigate and understand the world of life insurance, and how do those, how can you leverage those policies? What are the right ones depending on who you are? Talking about wills and trusts and estate planning and all that kind of good stuff. That's the beauty behind working, with an organization like yours, that you can touch so many parts of, the financial planning world, and also do that while understanding the business goals. I think that's the big unlocker. The tax is like the nice cherry on top, and I'll continue to battle you on that, where I think that is definitely the cherry on top. But I think there's so much other value in things that, Charles IT gets out of it. And, even members of our team are getting value by some of the conversations and at least the structure and basic setup that, your team has put in place. So I think for someone that's, someone that's just going to a standard CPA firm, or they have a guy that does the taxes and he's a one-man band, you're definitely the person that they should be reaching out to try to figure out how you can help.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you helped me realize that. Another time when you were here at the office, we were sitting in the conference room, and that doesn't get used because I don't have any clients here in town. But we're sitting in the conference room, and on the whiteboard, you're like, okay, let's list all of the things you help us with, and you just started writing it all down. And you're like, you're more than just tax strategy. And I'm like, yes, you're right. The nice thing about the tax strategy is we can quantify the value there. We can say, look, we saved you, $500,000 of income tax, or $1 million of income tax, and you paid us $72,000. Like, that's, most people are like, yes, you're right. That's a really good deal. I will do that again next year. And then what we forget to mention is, like, here's all of the other crap that we also, helped you, that allowed you to, run farther, faster. So yeah, I do appreciate that. And I need to remember that when we're just talking through these things with our clients. It's like, I like to bang the tax drum because it's an easy thing to quantify the value with. But we call it the entrepreneur private office, right? Like, we put all of this structure in your life, and it allows us to create a ton of tax efficiency, but it also does lots of other things as well. So
yeah,
good.
100%.
Sal, I do have to tell people, this is hard for me to admit. So Sal and I are both college athletes. Sal was a swimmer. I was a basketball player. I have a nice basketball court at my house. Sal comes over, we play basketball. Sal beats me one-on-one. So that's a little hard for me to admit publicly, but I figure it's good motivation for me to get myself in, like, get my game polished up for the next time he comes back. We'll see if we can avenge that loss. And we'll have to have you back on the podcast so I can give people an update. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Sal. I appreciate you on many different levels. I appreciate, I'll just say, friendship. I appreciate your business acumen. You've shared a lot of things that have helped us operationally, and just appreciate all the good work you guys do at Charles IT.
Absolutely. Appreciate everything that you've done as well. And looking forward to seeing what you guys can continue to do and grow and be a part of that journey.
Thank you for listening to the Vital Strategies podcast. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sal Marino, where we uncovered the secrets behind scaling operations and achieving 30% year-over-year growth. Before you go, I want to let you in on something special. We've just released our brand new planning tools designed to help you with our 4 cornerstones of wealth building: managing your cash flow, creating a tax strategy, investing wisely, and protecting your wealth. We've charged clients a one-time fee of over $10,000 to implement these concepts, but now we're giving them to you for free. If you're one of the first 100 people to sign up at vitalstrategies.com/cornerstones, you'll get these tools that will help you build a solid financial foundation for your business. Soon the price will be $99 a month, but if you act fast, you can be one of the few that get access at no cost. These tools are all about helping you pay less tax, build more wealth, and live a great life. Don't forget to rate and review the Vital Strategies podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us towards our goal of saving our clients and listeners over $1 billion in taxes. Dollars that are far better in your hands than the government bureaucracy. Thank you for listening and for being a vital entrepreneur. You're vital because you're the backbone of our economy, creating opportunities for your employees and driving growth. You're vital to your family, fostering abundance not only financially, but in all aspects of life that matter. Finally, you're vital to me because you strive to build wealth and make an impact through your business and live a great life.